Hey guys, welcome back to FHC Tactical. We are going to put together a series of shorter videos from our reviews for people who are looking for just that specific round and how they perform. So with that in mind, let's get to it. The next one is Federal 64 grain jacketed soft point. It is jacketed, so we still should see some fragmenting probably with this one, although it won't be as much as probably the hollow point. All right guys, here we go. First string is going to be the Federal 64 grain jacketed soft point. We're going to run 5 rounds through the 11.5 inch PSA, and then we'll go down and we'll check and see how it did on the other end. So here we go. 2640, 2657, 2669, 2686, 2680. All right, so we averaged 2666 on that string, extreme spread of 46 feet per second, and a standard deviation of 16. We switched over to the American Tactical 7.5 inch. All right, 2297. 2333. 2288. 2300. 2295. Okay, so the average velocity on that one, we had 2302, extreme spread of 45 feet per second, and standard deviation of 16. So we were pretty consistent. It's just, man, those speeds, they're getting into that territory where I don't know what kind of performance we would get in the gel, but that's what we're doing this to find out. We are down to our last round out of the 11.5 inch barrel, and that's going to be our Federal 64 grain jacketed soft point. So this one is going to be this bottom one down here on the bottom. I am really starting to doubt that this is actually jacketed, because it shed absolutely none of its jacket. That acted like a bonded soft point. Really good performance though. We got a great temporary cavity stretch, just like we would expect. Nice expansion. Comes through just like the other ones. I mean, they're almost identical on the performance on this end. The only difference is this one probably has a little more speed than the other ones if we remember our test initially. And it just doesn't shed its jacket. It acts like the bonded 55 grain there. We'll get a measurement on the penetration. So obviously it's got more speed and it's a heavier round. It's going to penetrate probably a little more than the 55 grain did. But I have to say that's probably a little more penetration than I would want out of just a self-defense round. We'll measure it and see, but I'm guessing that's going to be about 20 inches there. So our total penetration on that one is 20.5 inches. So we're up to the Federal, the 64 grain jacketed soft point. We're running it out of the 7.5 inch American Tactical. So we are looking at the bottom one here. It's going to be this track here. It doesn't look awful. It comes in, you get a really nice temporary cavity stretch. Nice expansion comes through. But the problem on this is this is it here. Now we can zoom in, and the expansion on that round is really nice. I've got no complaints about that. The problem is going to be for some people is it's the penetration. It is a lot of penetration, and for a pure self-defense round, that may be more than some people would be comfortable with. Next up is the 64 grain Federal. And this is the non-duty 556 64 grain soft point. They say it is jacketed. Okay, we'll go with that, but it sure acted more bonded than jacketed. Let's get a weight. I don't think it lost anything. Started out at 64 grain. It's showing 64 grain. So we didn't lose anything. It was no shedding. Nice performance there. You can see really good expansion, consistent. I'm almost curious now how this one would act in a barrier test. I may do that at some point. I may test it up against the 64 grain law enforcement bonded round that we did last week. I think that would be a good comparison there. Let's get a measurement here. So we have 0.42, and then on the larger side we have 0.47. So really good performance out of that one. Let's now look at the same round from the 7.5 inch. Now the one out of the 11.5 inch barrel, we had 20.5 inches of penetration on it. We actually got 21 inches of penetration out of the 7.5 inch. And I have to say, out of the 7.5 inch barrels, this one probably performed the best. Let's get a weight on that. Started at 64, it ends at 64. Obviously no weight loss there. And let's see what type expansion we got. 0.44 and 0.44. You know, you look at them, you can see that it was both of them performed really well. Penetration would be the only thing here if we're looking at self-defense. You can see it got it a little bit more into the depth from the 11.5 inch, but the 7.5 inch did good too. It's just going to be that penetration for a self-defense round going anywhere from 20.5 inches to 21 inches in the gel. That's going to be probably a little bit more than some would like. The Federal 64 grain jacketed soft point, it did not perform like I thought it would. I thought we would see a little bit more shedding of the jacket. We didn't get that, although the expansion on it was marvelous. Both rounds expanded really good. The problem though, 20.5 inches of penetration out of the 11.5 inch and 21 inches out of the 7.5 inch is going to be a problem for a lot of people for a pure self-defense situation. So that's not one I would use for that, although I think it would be a good round in other situations. Okay guys, so what did you think? We would love to get your comments and feedback on how the round performed and maybe how it's performed for you. We appreciate taking the time to watch our reviews. The link for the longer review, the full review, will be listed below. Please like, subscribe, and make sure your notifications are turned on so when we put out new content, you would be notified. And as always, make sure you get out there and exercise your Second Amendment right. We'll catch you next time.